She tried to seat her male best friend in my spot at her cousin's wedding. 31M with 28F. Together 8 months. This one's still messing with my head, and I need some perspective from people who weren't there. So I have been dating Holland for about 8 months. She's smart. This past weekend was her cousin Rita's wedding, which was a big deal because it was the first major family event she was bringing me to. The week leading up to it, Holland was stressed about everything. How we would look as a couple, whether her family would like me, the whole thing. Friday night while we are getting ready, she looks at me in the mirror and says, "Just don't embarrass me tomorrow." Okay, I should have asked what that meant. I didn't. Saturday arrives. We drive to this beautiful venue outside town, and Holland's buzzing with nervous energy. We walk into the reception area where they have the seating chart displayed, and I am looking for our table when Holland goes, "Oh, actually, I need to tell you something." I find our table on the chart, table 7. But there is only one place card with Holland's name on it. Next to it is a card for Mason Rivera. Mason is Holland's best friend from college. I have heard plenty about him. Personal trainer. Lives across town. They text constantly. Never met him. But according to Holland, he is just a really close friend who gets her in ways most people don't. "Where is my seat?" I ask. Holland points to table 12, in the back, with people I have never met. I know it looks weird. She says quickly, "But Mason knows my family really well, and Rita specifically asked if he could sit with us because he gets along so well with everyone. You understand, right?" Here is the thing about moments like this. Your gut tells you everything you need to know if you are willing to listen to it. My gut was screaming. But Holland's looking at me with these expectant eyes, and we are standing in front of her entire extended family, and the ceremony hasn't even started yet. So I just said, "I understand." And I did understand. I understood exactly what was happening. I walked back to the parking lot, got in my car, and drove home. By the time I reached my apartment, my phone had 17 missed calls. The thing is, I don't think I was angry. I was just clear. You know that feeling when someone shows you exactly where you stand with them, when all the little inconsistencies suddenly make perfect sense. I have been raised to believe that respect isn't something you negotiate. It is something you give and expect in return. When someone publicly demotes you, especially at their family event, they are telling you and everyone else exactly how much you matter to them. My dad always said, if someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I believed her. Edit. Holy shit, didn't expect this to blow up. Reading all the responses now. Yeah, a lot of you are saying I should have made a bigger deal about it or confronted her in front of everyone. But honestly, what would that accomplish? Make a scene at her cousin's wedding. Make everyone uncomfortable. That is not who I am. Edit 2, to answer the most common question. No, I haven't talked to her since. She has been calling and texting nonstop, but I am not really sure what there is to discuss. She made her choice. I made mine. Update 1. Well, this got interesting fast. First off, thanks to everyone who responded to my original post. Reading through all your comments helped me process this situation more clearly. So, the voicemails. Jesus Christ, the voicemails. Holland left me 6 of them between Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. I finally listened to them yesterday, and honestly, they told me more about what was really going on than any conversation we could have had. Voicemail 1, Saturday, 4:17 p.m., Trent. What the hell? You just left. Do you know how this makes me look in front of my entire family? Call me back right now. Notice anything about that one? Not, are you okay? Or I am sorry you were hurt. Just concern about how my leaving affected her image. Voicemail 2, Saturday, 6:23 p.m. I cannot believe you are doing this. It is Rita's wedding day and you are ruining it by being petty. Mason is asking where you went, and I don't know what to tell him. Mason is asking where I went. Interesting. Voicemail 3, Saturday, 9:45 p.m. Okay, I get that you are upset, but this is ridiculous. It is just seating arrangements. You are acting like I committed some terrible crime. This is where the gaslighting started. Just seating arrangements, right? Voicemail 4, Saturday, 11:52 p.m. Look, I am sorry if your feelings got hurt, but you have to understand that Mason didn't want to sit with a bunch of random people he doesn't know, and I couldn't just let my best friend be uncomfortable at my cousin's wedding, and there it was. The truth. This wasn't about Mason knowing her family better. This was about Mason not wanting to sit with strangers, and Holland prioritizing his comfort over her boyfriend's dignity. Voicemails 5 and 6 were just her crying and begging me to call her back, saying she loved me and didn't understand why I was punishing her like this. But here is what really got to me. In 8 months of dating, Holland had never once told me she loved me. Not when we had those late-night conversations about our futures, not during any of our good moments. Nothing. But she says it for the first time in a voicemail where she is trying to manipulate me into forgetting about being publicly humiliated. I have been thinking a lot about patterns I missed, how she always seemed to prioritize Mason's opinions when making decisions, how their texting was constant, morning, noon, and night, how she had light up when his name appeared on her phone in ways she never did when mine did. I wasn't her boyfriend competing with her best friend. I was her safe option being managed around her actual priority. My brother Jake called yesterday. "You did the right thing, man. That kind of disrespect doesn't get better. It gets worse." He is right. This wasn't about one seating arrangement. This was about someone showing me exactly where I ranked in their life and expecting me to just accept it. Oh, and Holland's cousin Rita called me this morning. That is going to be its own conversation. Edit, for those asking if I am going to call Holland back. No, I am not. What would be the point? She has already told me everything I need to know, both through her actions and through those voicemails. Edit 2. Rita wants to meet for coffee tomorrow. She said there are things about Holland and Mason that she thinks I should know. Not sure what that means, but I am curious. Update 2. Rita and I had that coffee yesterday, and holy shit, everything makes so much more sense now. Rita's one of those people who just cuts through the bullshit immediately. She ordered her coffee, sat down, and said, "I need you to know that everyone at that wedding noticed what happened, and most of us were disgusted." Turns out Rita had specifically told Holland that she wanted me at the family table because she was excited to meet the guy her cousin had been gushing about for months. Holland had lied to me about Rita requesting Mason sit with the family. But here is the real kicker. Rita told me that everyone in their family knows Holland and Mason used to date in college, and that Holland's never really gotten over him. She has been hung up on Mason for 6 years, Rita said. Every guy she dates gets the same treatment. She keeps them around for stability and companionship, but her heart's always been with Mason. Rita said watching Holland choose Mason's comfort over my dignity at the wedding was painful, especially since she could see how much it hurt me. "The way you handled it was classy," she said, "but Holland's been telling everyone you overreacted and left because you were jealous of her having male friends." We talked for about an hour. Rita apologized repeatedly for her cousin's behavior and said she would actually try to talk to Holland about it after I left. But Holland just kept insisting that I was being dramatic and that Mason was just a friend. I drove home from that coffee feeling vindicated but also kind of sad. Not for Holland, but for the time I had wasted ignoring obvious red flags because I liked the idea of what we could be together. Then yesterday evening, Holland showed up at my apartment with Mason. I opened the door, and there they both were. Holland immediately launched into this speech about how I had embarrassed her in front of her family and how she was trying to make things right, but I needed to stop being stubborn. Mason just stood there looking uncomfortable as hell. But here is where it got interesting. I looked at Mason and said, "I need to ask you something directly. Are you and Holland just friends?" Holland jumped in with, "Of course we are just friends. What kind of question is that?" But I held up my hand and said I wanted to hear from Mason. The guy was quiet for a long moment, then said, "Look, man, Holland and I, we have history. We dated in college. And yeah, there are still feelings there. I told her bringing me to the wedding as her +1 when she had a boyfriend was messed up, but she insisted it was fine. As her +1, not as her best friend. As her +1 to her cousin's wedding, Holland's face went white. She started stammering about how that is not what happened. How Mason was misremembering, how I was twisting everything. But Mason just shook his head. "Holland, stop. This isn't fair to him. You have been trying to have it both ways for months." I looked at Holland, and for the first time in our entire relationship, I saw her exactly as she was. Not the version I had been making excuses for, not the potential I had been hoping she'd live up to, just the reality of who she chose to be. "I think you should both leave," I said. Holland tried to argue, tried to get me to talk this through, but I was done talking. Mason actually grabbed her arm and said, Come on, Holland, let's go. After they left, I poured myself a drink and sat on my couch thinking about how different it feels when someone shows you who they are versus when you finally accept it. I am not angry anymore. I am just grateful I found out after 8 months instead of 8 years. Edit. Several people are asking why Mason came with her to my apartment. I have been wondering the same thing. My guess is Holland thought having him there would somehow prove they were just friends, not realizing it would actually confirm the opposite. Edit 2. No, I am not planning to reach out to Holland again. Mason's honesty was the closure I needed. Sometimes people do you a favor without meaning to. Final update. I wasn't planning to update this again, but something happened recently that felt worth sharing, especially for anyone who might be going through something similar. 6 months out, my life looks completely different. I got promoted to senior project manager at work, started going to this boxing gym my brother Jake recommended, and I have been dating someone casually who actually seems excited to introduce me to her friends. Nothing serious yet, but it is nice being with someone who doesn't treat my presence in her life like a secret. Last week, I was scrolling through Instagram when a post from the wedding photographer popped up in my timeline. One of those 6 months ago memories the algorithm throws at you. It was a collection of candid shots from Rita's reception with the caption "Love was definitely in the air at this beautiful celebration." Curiosity got the better of me. I clicked through the photos, and there it was. The visual evidence of everything I had suspected. Photo after photo of Holland and Mason throughout the reception. Their body language told the whole story. Her hand on his arm during conversations. Him leaning in close to whisper in her ear. Both of them looking completely absorbed in each other while sitting at what should have been our table. But what really got me were the comments from other wedding guests. Beautiful ceremony. Where did Holland's boyfriend end up? I kept looking for him at the family table. Mason and Holland looked so happy together. Are they finally official? I was wondering if Holland brought a date, only saw her with Mason all night. Everyone at that wedding knew exactly what was happening. The only person who had been kept in the dark was me. I screenshot a few of the photos and sent them to Jake, who responded, "Jesus, Trent, you dodged a bullet the size of a freight train." He has been using my story as an example at the firehouse. Apparently, there is a younger guy there who has been dealing with something similar with his girlfriend, always prioritizing her best friend's needs over his. Jake told him my story, and the guy ended up having a serious conversation with his girlfriend about boundaries. They either figured it out or they didn't. But at least he is not ignoring obvious warning signs anymore. That is the thing about experiences like this. They suck when you are living through them, but they teach you something valuable about self-respect that you can pass on to other people. One of my coworkers, Danny, just started dating someone who has been giving him the same treatment Holland gave me. Last-minute plan changes to accommodate other people, making him feel like he is always competing for her attention. That whole dynamic. I bought him coffee last week and told him about the wedding situation. "Here is what I learned," I told him. "The right person will not make you feel like you are auditioning for the role of boyfriend. They will choose you clearly and consistently, not just when it is convenient." Danny ended up having a direct conversation with his girlfriend about what he needed from their relationship. Either she was going to prioritize him the way he prioritized her, or they needed to call it what it was and move on. She chose to step up, and they are doing much better now. That is really what this whole experience taught me. Clarity is a gift, even when it hurts. Holland showed me exactly who she was and what I meant to her. Instead of trying to change her mind or prove my worth, I just accepted the information and acted accordingly. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is trust your instincts. Walk away with your dignity intact and build a life with people who actually want to be in it. The right person will not make you wonder where you stand with them. They will just choose you consistently, without making you feel like you have to earn it every day. Edit, for anyone wondering. No, I never heard from Holland again after that night at my apartment. I assume she and Mason figured their situation out one way or another. Either way, it is not my problem anymore. Edit 2, to the people asking about the woman I have been dating casually. We are taking things slow, which feels right after everything with Holland. But yeah, it is nice being with someone who introduces me to people as "This is Trent." The guy I have been seeing instead of just "This is Trent" with no context. Edit 3. Someone asked what I would tell someone going through this right now. Trust what you see, not what you are told. If someone's actions don't match their words, believe their actions. And if you find yourself constantly making excuses for someone's behavior or trying to convince yourself that things aren't as bad as they seem, that is usually your gut telling you everything you need to know.